Like I'm sad. I don't know what to do. Like, God, this didn't work out the way I wanted it to, or I feel so ashamed of what I did that I don't feel like worthy of repentance. So I'm just gonna give up and I'm just gonna go back. There's no place you can go where he won't meet you. Hi, this is Christina Eve, and welcome to ShineStrong, LiveLong. If it's your first time here, welcome back. If you are a returning viewer or listener to the podcast, it is time for IntentionaliTEA, where we are intentional about making time to actively invest into becoming the people that God designed for us to be. So take a second, grab your tea or whatever it is you want to drink, and join me for today's topic. Welcome to ShineStrong, LiveLong, inspiring us to be intentional about becoming who God has designed for us to be. Today's tea is a cinnamon spice tea. It's so good. I don't know what they do to make this so good, but it is so good. The only thing about these little cups is that, man, it makes my hands so hot. So I'm going to sit that down and let that cool off a little bit. But today's topic, you guys, is a good one. Whew. So we are being intentional, of course, about spending time with God, about being those people that God designed for us to be. And with that, we're going to have some moments in our life where I like to call them Peter moments for the sake of today's lesson. And Peter moments are when we act like Peter in the Bible, like his characteristics. And I think everyone has had a moment like this. Normally, when I hear people say like that they're like Peter, they have Peter moments, it's when they like cuss or say something crazy or they're like angry for some reason. This Peter moment, however, is after Jesus' death, his burial, and his resurrection. This is a moment where Peter, like us all in some point in our life, feel hopeless. Peter felt hopeless. He was a little lost. He was confused. And in this moment, what Peter did, he just went back to something that felt normal, something that he was familiar with, right? Sometimes we do that. Sometimes when we are lonely or hurt, we go back to places and people that made us feel good at some point in our life. Sometimes, if you're in a relationship, you go back to that rebound or that person that you know is like always there. Ladies, you know what I'm talking about. Not the ones that are married, you guys. We are married, so we don't do that stuff. But before you were married, if you are married now, you know what I'm talking about. So Peter had a moment like that. So I'm just going to read St. John chapter 21, and this is verse 3. So Simon Peter saith unto them, I go a fishing. Okay, that is King James Version for I'm going to go fishing. Okay, and they said unto him that we also go with thee. And they went forth and entered into a ship immediately. And that night they caught nothing. Okay, so, ooh, so Peter, at this point, he's just like, okay, he's just like, what do you do now? Like, we don't have any further instructions. Jesus, he died on the cross. We're hearing some rumors about maybe he's not dead, maybe he's resurrected, but I haven't seen him. And I know that before he died, I denied him 3 times. Like, so I'm not in his good graces. I probably am considered like a failure or this, like I know I backslid, as people at church would call it. Like he backslid, he did something wrong, but he wasn't in a position where he could apologize. He couldn't tell Jesus, like, I'm sorry, God, I did something wrong. I did something bad. And I know I told you I wouldn't, but I did it. And now I don't know what to do. You're not here. I looked into the tomb where they buried you at, and you're not there either. So like I'm just out here. So what do? I go fishing. That's where I was if I was Peter. That's where I was when you found me the first time. So maybe you'll find me again. Oh, can anyone relate to that feeling where, you're just like I'm sad. I don't know what to do. Like, God, this didn't work out the way I wanted it to, or I feel so ashamed of what I did that I don't feel like worthy of repentance. So I'm just gonna give up and I'm just gonna go back. So if you're having that moment or if you had that moment, then you probably know how the rest of the story goes. Jesus finds Peter, and that night they didn't catch any fish. But then Jesus came and he stood and he said in verse 5, "Children, have ye any meat?" Basically, have you caught anything? They're like, "No." And then Jesus is like, "Cast your net on the right side of the ship." And then they caught so many fish and the net didn't break, but they were able to pull all of the fish back to shore. That was a God moment. And in that moment, Peter realized, oh my gosh, this is deja vu. Jesus is kind of funny like that. He'll do that. He'll do things over and over and over again, sometimes to get our attention. And what I like to say about those moments, and when I'm talking to my husband, I kind of let him know, I'm like, God's grace is sufficient, but not just sufficient for anyone. God's grace is sufficient for me. So God knows us. He knows us. God knows Peter. God knows our characteristics. God knew what he wanted and what he had in store for Peter way before he even said, "I'm going to make you fishers of men. Come follow me," right? Isn't that amazing? Like, even when we go back to our mess and even when we are like hopeless and we just don't know what to do, God sees us and God knows that there's no place you can go where he won't meet you. So if we have those Peter moments where we feel hopeless, it's going to be okay. So I do want to add to that when they brought everything to shore and they realized, oh, wow, this is Jesus. I'm so happy that you found me. I just didn't know what I was going to do without you. Jesus gave them food. Even though they went fishing out there, it's crazy because in verse 9, Jesus is already on land cooking fish. So he already been there, apparently, knew that they were coming and just prepared everything for them to eat beforehand. Like, God is so awesome. Isn't it amazing just to know, like, he's so many steps ahead of us? So many steps ahead of us. Like, that's crazy. So just this story in particular, this chapter 21 of St. John, I encourage you in your intentional time with God, which is right now, but also tomorrow when you are being intentional with God and you want to know a little bit more about that story of Peter, then read St. John chapter 21. And remember that God can meet you anywhere, even when we feel hopeless, even when we have those Peter moments and we want to turn back and go to what's familiar because we don't feel worthy to keep going forward. God can find us right there. And it's not hopeless. And he has a plan in all of it. He has a plan. He has a plan, guys. He has a plan. And his plans are amazing. So remember, today is a brand new day. A day where you and I have been given the opportunity to choose better, love stronger, and shine brighter than the day before. Shine strong, live long.